Good morning and welcome to the Crawl or No Crawl report. This is Carolyn Holzman. Today is Monday, June 27th. What you're looking at is the data log where I record what's happening on the new indexation test site. So today we are on day 304 of the indexation test. And today is a test day. There are 3 test days every week. I promise now, moving forward. And every other day is an observation day. Today's test was published at 10:39 and everything happened as you would expect. And now this is the SEMrush sensor reading that is charted here as well as here. The reason for that is the one on the far left makes this pretty little graph on the right. But I wanted to also be able to see, day by day where we were quickly. So the difference here, the simple and the complex, this is where I record is simple indexing, testing on, and then the complex is for JavaScript, is JavaScript rendering, testing on or off. Now, you may have a different experience. But what I find is most SEOs, we talk a good game, like we know exactly how we can tell if our pages are indexed, but in reality, not so much. Sorry about that. So this effort behind this testing is for us to be able to be very, very precise. How do we know indexing is on? How do we know indexing is off? And this looks at 2 types of rendering. We look at the simple, the one that, the bots crawl, they take back, and boom. And then there's an extra process that they do on pages to decode the JavaScript. So anything that you have in JavaScript that portends to your SEO efforts, those efforts rely heavily on that secondary processing, the JavaScript processing or the complex processing as per this chart. Okay. All right. So 2 things I wanted to mention. We'll stay on the JavaScript here. The last day that JavaScript tested on was June 12th. That's 14 days ago. Now, simple testing was also off a majority of that time, but it came back as of, I want to say yesterday. Yes. So, but there is a backlog. So, we have to remember these are not magical things. This is going to be data being processed. So what I'm discovering is that the simple indexing is coming back on, but it's only with the more recent content, meaning if you remember the Search Console coverage updated on the 25th. So it's kind of anything that was closest to that date of the 25th is starting to come online, but they clearly have a backlog. How do I know that? Because there are a number of tests on this site that are showing in Search Console as indexed, but they are not findable by their keywords. And that's the clue there, that I know there's 2 different thoughts on indexing, but the only one that makes sense to me is if your content can be found by its keywords. That is not just found when you put the URL in quotes. It's not just found when you do a site operator search. It is found by its keywords. Now this is a test, which means I have keywords on these pages that Google has not seen before, which means when I search for that keyword, I can confirm that A, everything went through the simple indexing and was found, and B, everything went through the JavaScript processing and was found or not found. And in this case, you can see yesterday I found simple keywords and none of the JavaScript keywords were found. Okay, so that's that. And also, if you are a regular watcher, you know that on the 25th, we have a new bot in town. Now, it does, what does this mean, right? What do you care? Um, I think there's a couple of things that are likely. Um, you may see rollbacks. I think when they're testing a bot, they roll some things back. This is likely. It's not 100% guaranteed. But if you're seeing something weird, like your content is disappearing, if you're trying to find it by its keywords, that might be why. Second of all, it does seem that they're only testing this bot in the US. I have access to some non-US server logs, and I have not seen this bot in those server logs. So a little bit more of a fine point on it that it may be tested here. We may see rollbacks here, but it will all come back, okay? So just hang in there. Please don't assume this is your skill as an SEO when you're up against a machine that turns things on and off. Also, just want to let you know I am keeping track of the Apple bots. So they're coming seemingly more frequently. The Ahrefs is super challenging because the only way to really know it's Ahref is to look at the IPs where the crawlers are coming from. So that's why this one is crossed out, because I wasn't doing it at that point. But these are all identified by their IPs. And why am I doing this? Because we know they have their new search engine. Yep. And it doesn't appear that they've created a new bot to go with that search engine. They're relying on their Ahrefs data, and that makes sense. Okay, well, that's it for today. Get back to work. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Oh, and don't forget, this week's Confessions of an SEO drops Friday at 8 a.m. I'm working on the topic and not quite settled yet. Okay, take care. Bye.